Hey, welcome back to my channel, Shaun Stevenson Books. I'm Shaun Stevenson, author of the Throne series, and today we are talking about R.L. Stine's Fear Street, The Thrill Club. Oh, this book. This book. Ah! So I definitely read this book at nighttime while I was sitting outside in Florida on vacation. And sitting outside while I was reading this book made it so much more eerie because I kind of kept looking around a little bit like, wait, what's happening? Like, oh, what was that noise? What's going on over there? Because this book was so thrilling. No pun intended. Actually, pun intended, maybe. I don't know. It really was thrilling. This book was a huge, huge ride that did not let up. The basic story of this book is there's a group of teenagers in Shadyside who get together and they have the Thrill Club. And what they do during the Thrill Club is they share scary stories with each other. So the opening chapter of this book blew me away. I turned to my wife, Sarah, after I read this first chapter and I said, I have to tell you about this. I don't even know what to say right now. I was literally speechless at the end of the first chapter. Just the first chapter. It hooked me in all the way. And I knew I was going to plow through this book and just read it. I read it so fast because I could just not stop reading what was happening. I will say too, I read my first Fear Street book was Ski Weekend. This was my second Fear Street book to read, The Thrill Club. And I think that this book I liked better than Ski Weekend because this one, it was a little more of what I expected from a Fear Street book. There was a tiny supernatural element, but there was also some really great mystery going on. And while I did about halfway through, I guessed who the person was who was behind everything, the how of it, I did not guess. And I thought when I got to it, oh, that's just straight up creepy. That's straight up creepy. I think too, this book has a lot of commentary about the ways that people treat one another and the ways that some people, I'm trying to say this without spoilers because this is a spoiler-free review. I think this book really sheds light though on the ways that some people want to manipulate others and control them and make them do what they want them to do in order to accomplish their goals. And so the threats in this book of someone dying or someone being killed really comes back to these people who are manipulating others, trying to get them to do what they want or they die. And I think that that is a very interesting statement on just people in general and how people often want to control other people. People often want to be the ones who are making the decisions for things and don't like being controlled, but they want to do the controlling instead. And so I think this is a really great commentary on that whole idea, especially within relationships that are brother sister, romantic relationships, family relationships, all those different things. So I think that at the end of the day, this book not only delivered on the thrills and the chills and all that stuff, it also delivered on a very fascinating, subtle commentary that was really in the background. I think sometimes there are books written where the commentary kind of goes above all the other things that are happening, and the commentary message kind of becomes too much of what the book is about versus the plot and the characters and diving into the setting and those story elements that need to be strong in order for the message to come through at the end. And I think this is one of those books. The plot is first. The characters come second, I think. And the setting is in the mix there. And the message comes out of all of those things instead of being the driving force of them. Just kind of a warning, if you are bothered by a little more gruesome death scenes, this could be a very bothersome book to you. However, if you have read other Fear Street books or other books by R.L. Stine, you kind of know what you're getting into. So this one, I will say, had a little more of an elevated level of a little bit, not a ton of violence and gore, but just a tiny bit more than like Ski Weekend did, which I really compare Ski Weekend to like a Murder She Wrote level of gore and violence. This one had a tiny bit more than that. It was a little bit more like a 90s TV show might have as far as violence or gore in it, which is not as much as like might be today, but back then it would have been a little more shocking for people. But this one, I feel like the characters are great. The way R.L. Stine sets up the relationships between everybody is so good and so terrifying too, because you just do not know who's doing what and what is happening. I think the other strength of this book is because it is the Thrill Club, there are interspersed throughout here so many great moments where they're telling stories. And these like short little like spooky stories they tell elevate the material so much. And sometimes you don't know what's a spooky story and what's really happening. And I had to go back a couple times and think, wait, was that a spooky story or was that real? I'm not sure until later when things are revealed which one was what. So this one is just so great of a ride. I really enjoyed it. I think if you are looking for a good Fear Street book to read, this is the book that will kind of tell you what Fear Street is like and give you that little bit of the thriller aspect along with that tiny splash of supernatural. Just a tiny splash. It really wasn't much in the end, but just a tiny splash, which I really appreciated. I thought that this was kind of what I would probably want out of a Fear Street book. So have you read Fear Street's The Thrill Club? If so, put in the comments below, what did you think of this book? I really enjoyed it. I give this book a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I think there could have been just one tiny little bit more if it had been a little more mysterious of who the villain was going to be in the end. But otherwise, I really enjoyed this one. I think it's a great entry in the series. Definitely worth reading. If you like Fear Street books or scary books, this is a great one. Go for it. So that's my review of The Thrill Club by R.L. Stine. Have you read this one? Put it in the comments below, like and subscribe, and until next time, keep reading, everybody. Bye.